Ballantyne and I'm a business disputes lawyer. In my last video, I discussed selling your business and misleading and deceptive conduct. In this video, I'm going to look at breaches of restraint of trade clauses in the context of selling your business. This is an area that we see a lot of disputes over, especially after the business has been sold and the money has been paid. So firstly, what is a restraint of trade clause? It's essentially a clause where the seller is restrained from being involved in a similar business to the business they just sold for a certain period of time in a certain geographical area. It's essentially there to preserve the goodwill of the original business. So what are a few tips to avoid these types of claims? First, be very specific in your sale of business agreement as to what the seller is allowed to do and not allowed to do after the sale of business has gone through. Is it direct competition? Is it just similar businesses or similar roles? You also need to look at what does that mean for your industry. What is direct competition and what is a similar business? These should be well defined. If the seller does intend to work in another business after the sale of business, this should be specifically mentioned in the agreement to avoid disputes down the track. If there is the purchase price is payable in instalments, if an instalment is missed, this should also be put in the sale of business. Does the restraint still apply if the purchaser stopped paying for the business? This is important. Also, just make the restraint of clause as wide as is necessary to protect the goodwill of the business, no wider. Because if it's too wide, the courts might read it down and say it's unenforceable. So for example, if you're selling a restaurant, to say that the seller isn't allowed to open another restaurant worldwide for 10 years is clearly going too far to protect your business. The courts will say, well, so what, you're in Melbourne, so what if they open a restaurant in Sydney, in 2 years' time? That's not really going to affect your business. So just keep it as narrow as necessary. Thank you for listening, and I hope this was helpful.